Good. Alright, sweet. Hey, how's it going? My name's Hayden Middleton. This is my podcast that I'm doing for my Principles of Sociology final, pretty much, I like to call it. I decided to do the podcast because I can't write very well at all, especially 10 pages. I'm very good at talking. I'm very good at kind of explaining it better through vocally rather than trying to write it all down on a piece of paper and give it to you and say, here you go. So I'm going to be covering really kind of chapter 10. Well, it's part of chapter 10, social institutions, politics, education, and religion. But I'm really going to be talking about the religion aspect of it. I'll go over the whole chapter itself, so you can kind of goes through seeing the chapter and everything, but then I'm going to focus heavily on the religion part. I wouldn't say I'm very religious, but I am a religious being. Go to church, do community service, mission trips, everything like that. I do have stories of those as well that I'll be sharing in kind of this podcast to help you see the way I see it. I looked at this option for the final and didn't see much kind of really written about it, what to do, what not to do, so I'm doing this like a regular podcast. I used to do some podcast back in high school, and to my best knowledge, they're a mix of kind of stories, facts, everything of the above, and kind of just helps you feel like you're really seeing it the way I see it. So, we're going to start out at kind of just the beginning of the chapter, which is starting out like, what is a social institution? There is like a social institution best described as a system and structure that shapes the activities of groups and individuals in society. So there could be race, gender, economic class, religion, kind of stuff like that. It's not actually a place. It's not really a place at all. It's just kind of how individuals in society piece together like a puzzle piece, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Like I said, politics, education, sex, gender, religion, everything like that is for it. Going into that, goes over politics. What is politics? Politics has really four main aspects of it: power, authority, politics, and the government. So power is power, best described as power, but it's the ability to to impose one's will on others. So political leaders, political parties is another good way to see it. Imposing your will, the way you want things to be, on others. Some agree, some don't. That's how we are. That's why we're divided like we are in America today. The other one is authority. Your authority pretty much defines how much power you have. If you have a bunch of authority, you've got a bunch of power. You can do a lot of things. You don't have any authority, you can't do anything. The best way to kind of see it is best way I can explain it is dogs. You go over to a family friend's house or whatnot, they have, say, a German Shepherd, right? Really, really good, really trained dog, but it only listens to the owner because the owner has authority and the power for that dog. You are the guest. The dog doesn't know you, yada yada. You don't have any authority over the dog. You can't command the dog to sit, fetch, lay down, stuff like that. It's the one who has the authority, the power, so the owner. And it goes into politics, the methods and tactics of managing a nation or state. This kind of is how it's defined here in the chapter, as well as administrating and controlling its internal and external affairs, right? So like I said, politics, like political parties. Republicans have one way of wanting it done, Democrats have another way of wanting it done. It's the divide, the great divide, as I call it. And then you have government, the people, right? This is really kind of just one big name to put over everybody who has authority, everybody who has power. Because in the United States we have national government, state government, city government, sometimes even county government. The national, he's big boss. Pretty much what he says goes to an extent. States, state powers, state governments, they have more power than the national governments in some aspects. The national government makes it to where they have more power over certain parts that works best for their state. Because if you can see, we have 50 different states in the United States, 50 different regions. Not really two states are similar. You can't tell me that Florida and California are the same. Texas and New York are the same. So there's different aspects of that. The states control themselves because they can see what fits the best. And that mainly comes through laws, enforcements, policies, and stuff like that is how really the government really enforces their stuff. So one political system is a monarch government, described here in the chapter as king or queen. Queen Elizabeth, whichever one we're on now, who's been alive, I think, for 120 years now. Something obscure number like that. Rulers are kept in the family. Kind of like back in the day, you'd hear all these kings and kingdoms. One family ruled that kingdom. Unless it was overthrown, yada yada. But majority of the time, one family held heir to that throne. An absolute monarchy is just like a monarchy, but they have complete authority over their subjects. Dictatorship would be the best way to explain it in today's, like North Korea, dictatorship. They have complete control over what their subjects, their citizens, or people are doing. Then you have constitutional monarchs. Royal figures whose powers are defined by political charter and limited by a parliament and by other governing bodies. So it's kind of constitutional monarchs are kind of what we have today, but without the monarch part. Constitutional. So we don't have royal figures. I sure hope our political leaders do not think they are royal figures, because they are not. But this is where it's defined. It has definition what you can do, what you can't do. Oh, can't do that. Oh, you can do that. Kind of everything like that. And then you have the authoritarian government. Authoritarian is kind of a big one. It's pretty much, this one goes into dictatorship a lot more in depth. Because at first you have authoritarianism. It's a system of government by and for a small number of elites, does not include the representation of ordinary citizens. That's like if all the actors got together and they decided how our daily lives were going to be, which would be living hell. But that's pretty much the best way to explain it. And you have a dictatorship, the individual. Like I said, it's like absolute monarchy. It's kind of really the old term for it. Which leader typically seizes power rather than selected or elected. So they might not have been elected to be president, but they overthrew the president, overthrew the government, and now they're a dictator. And we do anything that they don't agree with, we're on the chopping block. You get what I'm saying? Then you have totalitarianism, political party. That one's hard. I've been trying to practice that word about 15 minutes now, but it's the most extreme and modern form of authoritarianism in which the government seeks to control every aspect of citizens' lives. That is, the government seeks to control. Not one person, the government seeks to control. This is communism. China, Russia, this is communism. One party rule is kind of the same party. This is it. There's no, like, we have Republicans, Democrats, and then the middle ground. No, they have one person, one party you listen to. Otherwise, you don't listen anymore. Get what I'm saying? And then after that, we have the democratic government. Democracy is the best way to put it. And that's what we live in today. Democracy is a political system in which all citizens have the right to participate. All citizens in the United States have the right to vote. Except for in Texas, if you're a felon. I believe in Florida, too. If you're a felon, you cannot vote. So first you have participatory democracy. And so this is one where citizens have a direct vote in all political decision making. This is like every time there's a new bill that comes up, new bill, new funding, new spending bill, every citizen has a vote for that. Not just the big wigs up in D.C. Every citizen has a vote on that. This was mainly used in ancient Greece when citizenship itself was extremely limited, but is not typically used in large, big societies. So I think like one way to do that, like if Hawaii was its own little country, I think they would be a participatory democracy. Not very many people there, and it's very small. And then you have a liberal democracy. This is what we're most familiar with. System works with two parties. Citizens are able to vote in elections for those who will represent them in voting on actual policy. That's how it is today. You vote Democrat, you voted Democrat in this previous election. We are here now. voted Republican in this previous president election. It's where we are now. That's just how it is. You vote on one person who has your best interest and the way you think would be the best way to get this country going, and you vote for them. And you're just hoping that when they get up into the big box, when they get up into actually having that power, they're going to stick to what they said they're going to do, and you don't get disappointed. Alright, then it goes into who rules America. Who rules America? They have a couple different kind of theories or kind of everything like that. You have the pluralist theory. Democracies represent a balance between a variety of interest groups or attempt to influence the government. They're trying to influence how things are run, how bills are voted on. Like lobbyists, unions, kind of stuff like that. Then you have the power elite. This theory was developed by Mr. Wright Mills. Mills claimed that leader of politics, the economy, and the military all come from the same hyper-privileged segment of society, thus leading to high levels of convergence among those three sectors. Which I agree with, highly. A lot of times, it is very rare that you see someone who is not a millionaire or billionaire becoming president, especially in today's world. These are people who have had money for quite some time, are still making money. Their great-great-great-grandkids will never have to work a day in their life. And these are the people that are running our country. Not me, who I work 40 plus hours a week. I'm going to school. I'm trying to make myself a living. You don't see me running for president. I'm financially unable to run for president. It's just how it goes. Same for really big military high rankers. A lot of times those are their military, their family has been in the military for a long time. Big impact on the military in the previous years. So Mills was writing in the mid-20th century, but even today our top leaders are rarely representatives of the population. That's where I said I really agree with this. It is rare you see a blue-collar worker, somebody who works 40 plus hours a week, gets their hands dirty every day in the government, in the Congress, in the Senate, making bills, passing bills, making votes, everything like that. It is rare. You find it for the 1%, the 1%ers, the 0.1%ers. The millionaires, billionaires have the most influence over this country. Then you have the military-industrial complex. And this is one President Eisenhower basically warned us about. There's a lot of dangers that come with when the American military and the arms industry have a close relationship. Because that could produce an unhealthy balance of power, is what President Eisenhower stated. And that is a good point. I do see everything like that as well. You just need to make sure that everybody's staying in check, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do and not trying to overreach their step. If we do that, a lot of things could be done here in this country. Like I said, in the PowerPoint, it points out Dick Cheney, former vice president of the United States, was affiliated with a multi-billion-dollar corporation that made a profit from international conflict. He was affiliated with these people, made profit from the international conflict in total. Other people rule America, like interest groups, media. Media is a real high power leader in America, and then opinion leaders. Influencers, pretty much, would be the best way to say it. Like you have AARP, General Electric, Blue Cross Blue Shield, AMA, American Medical Association, Chamber of Commerce, Boeing. These are very big lobbyers and spenders from the previous time that I've been alive. It goes into kind of really what is education. Education's what it sounds like. It's what I'm doing right now. I'm educating you off the education that I received. Transmitting knowledge, pretty much the best way to put it. Members so they can function in a society. So this one really talks about manifest versus latent functions, transmission of knowledge, learning to follow society's rules, respect authority, being socialized, and kind of everything that'll make you be basically a obedient entity. It's pretty much what education is. And so there's a bunch of inequalities seen in society with education. there's a term called hidden curriculum. This really describes, as stated here in the chapter, describes values and behaviors that students learn indirectly over the course of their schooling because of the educational system structure and teaching methods. One thing I really learned in high school was how to cheat. At that point, I wasn't trying to learn the material. I was trying to pass the class. That's what school in itself has turned itself into. Here in college is different. I am in classes now that really pique my interest. Criminal justice classes. All these really pique my interest. I'm not cheating. I'm not trying to pass that class. I'm learning that material. It also goes into symbolic interactionist study of education by Rosenthal and Jacobson. A teacher's attitudes about their students unintentionally influenced the performance. I've had teachers tell me, "You're not going to college. You're not going to get nowhere in life." And same with all my friends. But where are we? I'm in college right now. A majority of my friends are in college right now. So we can really see that how teachers act towards students and treat them is really a big factor, huge factor in how that student, how that citizen is going to do down the line. And it starts going into religion, which religion is the big portion of this, and this is what I'm going to be talking about for the rest, really, of this podcast. Religion, what is it? How does sociology define religion? It defines it as a shared system of beliefs, rituals, practices, and transcendence. Specifically, it's a beliefs adhered to by the members of a community, incorporating symbols regarding with a sense of awe or wonder, together with ritual practices. Christianity, Buddhism, Muslim, there are just very few examples. And so that's basically, it helps people see it as, sociologists sees it as a total moral framework, which people can situate their lives. Because I know Christianity really helped form me into who I am today. First, religion is a form of culture. There's 3 elements. First, form of culture. Second, you have ritualized practices. Like, say, for Christianity, a lot of prayers, offering, selflessness, community service, kind of stuff like that. Those are, I see those as forms of ritualized practices. And then third, and really probably the most important, is purpose. Why are you here? Why does this religion do what it does? Christianity, our religion, is to spread the word of God, give love to thy neighbor as we love ourselves. That's the purpose of Christianity. That's the way I see it. Really, the big part of it is just love thy neighbor as you love thyself. It goes in a deeper. There were pretty big conditions that set stage for sociology study of religion. They're not concerned with the truth of religion. There's all different kinds of religions out there. Sociology took the unbiased standpoint and said, don't care or the truth of it, they want to know what it's about, which is how I think a lot of things should be seen. They focus on the organization and the institutionalization of that religion, kind of see what it does to people, how it affects them down the line, how it affects them day to day, and how it affects them, how they interact in the community. We often see religion as unifying, but we can also see where they lead to conflict, which is a very big issue, especially when it comes to 2 separate religions. Buddhism, Christianity and Muslim. There's a lot where they can lead to conflicts that is not what either of those religions talk about, at least Christianity. I haven't studied Muslim or Islamic. I haven't studied that, so I do not know, but I know Christianity is avoid conflict. I have trouble avoiding conflict. I'm a very stand my ground kind of guy. And so avoiding conflict is probably the hardest one for me. And so kind of they're trying to see how sociologists think about religion. And so Marx is drawing upon the German philosopher Feuerbach, saw religion as ideology that reinforced inequality. Called religion to opiate the masses, as theologies that promise salvation and heavenly afterlife tamper down revolutionary impulses in this life. Basically, he's trying to say you are getting to the afterlife in a heavenly world, golden gates, golden streets, to dampen the kind of pull that impulses and bad decisions have in our life. Religion then was a form of self-alienation. For Marx, alienation occurs when we believe our own abilities as human beings are being taken over by other entities. So, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, which one is it? There's a bunch of movies where this happens, or studies where this happens, where they feel like their body has been taken over by some kind of demon or spirit. Weber is another one who really went into religion, more interested in the role of religion as a part of social change. He has a pretty famous book, The Protestant, Ethnic, and the Spirit of Capitalism, traces the connection between the Protestant theology and development of capitalistic economy system. When he asked why capitalism developed first in the West, his answer was that Eastern religions oriented people differently than Protestantism, and toward an anti-materialistic life. Thus, he saw that religion and culture were important factors in historical change, which that is very true. Back in days where Indians were still around, you would trade with Indians. You would trade 2 coyote pelts, say for a spear, or you would trade 5 corn husks, say for a bowl to mush your corn husk up, and everything like that. That's when people really weren't there for materials. They weren't there for luxuries. They were there just to make their life, basically just keep living and keep people happy. So then it goes into Durkheim was interested in the social functions of religion. Still kind of talking about the religion, the elementary forms of religion life. He also wrote a book, or a kind of journal, I guess you could say. The Elementary Forms was to describe and explain most early religions known to man. I'm kind of curious about this, and it says, that's why. And so first, it kind of has an explanation. First, Durkheim argued that we cannot understand more advanced religions except by analyzing the way they have progressively constituted throughout history. So we can't understand religion completely until we know where it came from, how it was 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. He also suggested that specific study of religion itself presupposed that the various religions we compare are all species of the same class. Kind of like going into animals. Everything is the same, but it's different. Like cats, there's lions, tigers, cheetahs, house cat. And it possessed certain elements in common. Third, he was trying to answer a time-honored philosophical question, the essential, quote-unquote, essential nature of religion, by new sociology means. Early religion provides a special case. They're simple, and everything's less complicated. Makes life easy. It's kind of pretty much what it says. So, hence Durbach's definition. Quote, a religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things, that is to say, things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community called the church, all those who adhere to them. Which I think personally is a pretty good definition of really what religion is. It's not the best definition, but it's a pretty good one. And so there's also, it starts going into the part of performing rites, practices towards certain objects based on a shared notion. Rites are rules of conduct, how you act. Rituals, highly routinized act. So communion, prayers, praying towards Mecca, community service, basically kind of stuff like that. You have symbols, stands for something else, representation. I've said religion, like for Christianity, it's a cross, because Christ was nailed on the cross. And then thus having religious experience, paying deference to worshiping a religious symbol, truly worshiping society as a symbol is a container for the emotional energy for the group. Society is a source for emotional energy. Society is the ultimate source of the sacred. Without society, there wouldn't be religion. Without religion, society would be a mess. So that's really the end of the chapter, how it explains this whole thing. But I've got plenty of time left. I got at least 6 minutes for the cutoff, but I'm going to keep going past that because I get into religion. And so, Christianity. I'm a big Christian. I grew up going to Christian churches. I grew up going to mission trips, serving communion, service projects, everything like that. I am a Methodist when it comes to Christianity. There's different kinds of Christianity, denominations of Christianity, really. Like Assembly of God, Baptist, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Roman Catholics. There's all types of it, and They all have the end goal, is to worship our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, worship his Father, God, love thyself as you love thy neighbor, and make it to the eternal life above. But they all recognize it differently. When it comes to, say, to the Bible, everybody recognizes the Bible, and they translate the Bible differently. I haven't really babbled in different denominations of Christianity. Like, I haven't been to a Baptist church. I've been to a Lutheran, a Methodist, and another Methodist. I've been to two. Because I grew up going to a Methodist church, and then that church kind of started dying down. And actually, it was out of a high school, and that high school said, "Hey, we can't be using the school anymore. We got plays and yada yada." So I went to another church that was about 3 minutes from the house. All my friends from high school went there. I knew a bunch of people there, and it kind of made me feel welcome. That was another Methodist church. Then I went to a Lutheran church for a little bit as well. I didn't stay for very long because I didn't agree with how they were doing things. I grew up knowing one way. There are people who are better than me and can accept and go all different kinds: Baptist, Assembly of God, Presbyterian. I'm not that much of a superb human being, so I like to stick with Methodist. It's what I'm comfortable with and what I grew up with. So there's all different kinds. One thing Methodists really focused on is kind of service of others. I went to mission trip for all the way from my 7th grade year all the way to a year after I graduated high school. So after my first year in college, I was going on mission trips. I went all over. I went Louisiana, South Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and I even went to the Appalachian Mountains on one of my trips, which was, I want to say, the best one. I have all different kinds of stories, but the biggest one that sticks to me when it comes to Christianity is when I went to the Appalachian Mountains. I went up there and I went with the smallest group I've ever been on for a mission trip. Total of us, including our 2 youth pastors, there was 9 of us. Every other mission trip I go on our church itself takes 20 to 30 kids, at least. But this one, it was when our church, we had a pastor that not everybody agreed with. We lost a bunch of our church congregation, lost a bunch of our, not necessarily popularity, but our attendance. And so our groups were small. And so I went with 8 other people to the Appalachian Mountains, and that was the best week of my life. My youth pastor at the time, and still was the youth pastor there, I grew up with her. When I first started going to this church, like I said, 7th grade, she was a junior at that church. Junior in high school going to that church. So I saw her a lot. We talked a lot, kind of became good friends, even though the age difference. And as I was growing up, a bunch of our attendees left. I kept going all through my last day, really in Arlington, before I came down to Houston, same Houston down here. And then that's when my old youth friend became the youth pastor. That really kind of changed things. And so when it came to this mission trip, I knew it would be something else. Because it's the first mission trip I'd ever get to go on with that. What feels more of an old friend, rather than it feels like a pastor or a leader. It feels more really like an old friend. We have that relationship. Still talk to her every day now. We have that relationship of being friends now. Not just she's my youth pastor. I only see her at church. Stuff like that. And on this mission trip, we had all of our ups and downs. We were building a ramp that was, 35 feet long? Over 7 feet. 7 feet height difference. And so it was really a pain. It was really a challenging build. I grew up doing construction all throughout my life. My dad, he had a construction business, doing projects around the house. So I knew I can do very good construction. So me and my youth leader, we basically went arm in arm on this and ran with it. Us and our one other adult and our six other kind of youth. I was the oldest on the trip, but I think I just turned 20 at the time. I just turned 19 at the time. No, 20. It was 20. So I was the oldest on the trip. And so me and my youth pastor really took arms on this and went with it. Ran with it. We got that 30-foot ramp built in 3 days. The ramp was for our customer, our client, to be able to get his great grandmother in and out of the house. He had just recently moved, and the ramp they had there, mind you, they already had an existing ramp that we tore out before lunch on the first day. I tell you, when you get kids popsicles, sugar, and a goal in order to get more popsicles and more sugars, they will get it. Whatever the hell you want done. But that was done for the lunch on the first day. And so we were done real quick, and we actually got to see the great grandmother come home and see this ramp that we built for her. Mind you, we're in the Appalachian Mountains. We were in an old mining town, so the population there was not very wealthy. That whole town itself really could have used a new porch, a new ramp, new steps. But we can't help everybody. We help who we can. We can't help everybody. And really, what changed everything was whenever I saw her great grandmother come home for the first time to this new house. We're not necessarily new to them house. And she had been living in a retirement home for the past 6 weeks because whenever they had to move, they were forced to move by the old landlord. Kicked them out. The renting house kicked them out. And this is the first time she really had been able to spend a bunch of time with her great grandson and her daughter. And the look on her face when she saw that ramp, the look on her face when she was pushed up that ramp and onto the back porch of their new house, really put a lot of perspective. I grew up not necessarily worrying about when my next meal is going to be, if the power is going to get cut, if water is going to be cut. I had it, I would say, better than people I've met. And I also know that my great-grandparents, my grandparents are taken care of. So I never really kind of experienced anything like this. And so seeing this really put something into me that showed me that there really is a reason I do this. There's a reason I did that for, 9 years? No, not 9 years. What am I driving? Like 6 years? Really is a reason I do it. I did it for all 6 years for that one moment. Now I'll continue to do it, but this time as an adult, leading other kids, not as a technically youth. That's one of the big things that keeps me towards and geared Christianity. Another thing is, I know you see this picture that my whole podcast is recorded over. I tried to get a webcam for this thing, but the lens was broken on it, so I couldn't even use it as a webcam. It was all cracked and everything like that, so it kind of looked like shit. Not gonna lie to you, looked like shit. So this is what I went with. This picture right here. This is the screensaver of my computer. But I just recently had a friend pass 2 months ago from Saturday. 2 months ago, was it Tuesday? Saturday was the 4th, correct? 6th, yep, 4th. 2 months ago from the 4th. One of my really good friends passed. Day before that was his birthday, January 3rd. It was on his birthday. I was kind of laying in bed. My grandma lives up in by Colorado, lives up in Colorado, in the mountains of Colorado. And he knew kind of somewhat about my friend passing, and he sent me this picture actually. He has a really nice camera. He loves taking pictures of the nature and the background and everything. He sent me this picture. Just because he thought I'd like it. My friend Ashton really loved to fly planes. Flew little single prop planes, flew them everywhere. He loved nature, loved seeing mountains like this. So whenever I received this picture, I broke down. My grandpa didn't understand why. Then when I explained it to him, he really understood why I took so much to this picture. Just the way that the sky is painted with all the colors it has, the lightning you see coming through, the night you see on one side, the light in the day, the clouds, and really how high it was up. Because he loved flying planes. And this really showed me that there's someone else looking out for me. This also strengthened, really helped me out. Really helped me understand there's something else out there looking over me. Regardless, it's Ashton, Jesus, God. One of the three I know are looking over me and know that He's watching over me. He is protecting me. The day he passed, I texted him and said, I really wish this was a lie. I really do. But now you get to fly ever higher than you've ever flown before. Save a spot for me up there. He had the same religious beliefs that I do, and a majority of the people I hang out with do. He was Christian, believed you either go up or you go down. And I know in my heart he went up. He was an amazing guy. That's why you're seeing this picture. Nothing, no camera, I really wish it was camera really, but no camera, no nothing else, you just see this picture. And that really pulls me into Christianity. It really keeps me close and keeps me knowing that it's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's the big point of Christianity. It's the big point of religion. World's a scary place out there. It really is. The worst part of it is death. Death is really scary. That's what religion does. Kind of lets you know that, hey, it's not so scary. Helps you understand that life's not so scary. Death's not so scary. You have this to look forward to when that time is to come. And that's why I stick with religion. It helps me solve a bunch of questions that I never thought I'd get answers to. But thank you for coming for my little podcast here. I really don't know if I did this the correct way or not. Like I said, I couldn't really find any guidelines on it. My best shot was, just talk about what I want to talk about. Like I said, I can talk a lot better than I can write on a piece of paper. Thank you for listening. And thank you for this great semester, by the way. I really did take a lot in this semester. Even with tragedies happening, I really took a lot in this semester. And I want to say thank you. You really help me see things from different aspects and learn things from a different aspect. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy holidays.